Imagine a fire raging through a quiet, ordinary English home. The comforting sounds of a family are replaced by the roar of flames and the crack of splintering wood. Walls collapse, cherished possessions and precious memories turn to ash. And when the smoke finally clears, amidst the blackened skeletal ruins, one thing always remains: a painting, touched by the inferno. The same sad, tear-filled eyes staring back. The same sorrow frozen in time. Tonight, we delve into a story that has haunted generations. A mystery that blurs the line between tragic coincidence and supernatural malevolence. This is the story of the Crying Boy painting, the curse that no fire could destroy. It all began, at least for the public, in the mid-1980s. September 4th, 1985, to be exact. A British tabloid, The Sun, published a story that would ignite a nationwide panic. A firefighter from Yorkshire, Peter Hall, shared a chilling observation. He and his colleagues had attended numerous house fires where everything was incinerated, reduced to nothing but rubble and soot. Yet in the middle of this total devastation, they repeatedly found one object completely unharmed: a print of a painting depicting a small, weeping boy. Dolls. Brother Ron, also a firefighter, had a similar story. After a fire gutted a home in Rotherham, the only thing left was one of these paintings, hanging on a soot-blackened wall. The headline screamed, "Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy." It was a story tailor-made for public hysteria, and it spread like wildfire. Suddenly, reports flooded in from all over the country. Families shared their own terrifying experiences. A couple from South London lost their home to a blaze started by a chip pan. But the Crying Boy painting in their living room was found unscathed amongst the wreckage. In another town, a family's house burned to the ground just 6 months after they had bought the print. The stories were all eerily similar: catastrophic fires, total loss, and a single, pristine painting of a child in tears surviving the flames. It wasn't just one copy, but thousands of mass-produced prints that had become popular. Inexpensive decorations in working-class homes across Britain during the 60s and 70s. Each one depicted a young boy, his face a mask of misery, with large, glistening tears streaking his grimy cheeks. His eyes were hollow, vacant, yet seemed to plead with the viewer. The question on everyone's lips was, who was this boy, and why was his image seemingly indestructible? The search for answers led back to the artist. The paintings were signed Bragelin, a pseudonym for a Spanish painter named Bruno Amadeo, who had moved to Italy after the Spanish Civil War. The story goes that Amadeo painted a series of these crying children in the 1950s, selling them to tourists. The most famous of these was the boy we now know as the Crying Boy. According to the legend that Amadeo himself supposedly shared, the subject was a young orphan he'd found wandering the streets of Madrid. The boy's name was Don Bonillo, and he was known as Diablo, or the Devil, by the local villagers. They claimed the boy was a fire starter, a jinx. Wherever he went, mysterious fires would follow. His own parents had allegedly died in a blaze. Despite the warnings, Amadeo adopted the boy and painted his portrait. Not long after, Amadeo's studio inexplicably burned to the ground. Ruined and terrified, the painter cast the boy out. Years later, a priest told Amadeo that he had learned of the boy's fate. Don Bonillo had died in a car accident, a car that burst into flames. The curse, it seemed, was now tied to his image, a permanent echo of his fiery, tragic life. As these dark tales circulated, the mystery deepened. Why were there so many different versions of the Crying Boy? It turned out the Crying Boy was not a single painting, but a collective name for a series of works by various artists, all featuring tearful children. The most common one, the one most associated with the curse, was indeed by Bragelin. But there were others, like A Crying Girl and Different Boys, painted by Scottish artist Anna Zinkeson. This only added to the confusion and the fear. Were all of them cursed? The firefighters who spoke out were certain. They claimed to have seen over 50 houses destroyed where these paintings were the sole survivors. Some fire station canteens even banned the prints, with firefighters refusing to have them on the walls. The theories ranged from the supernatural to the mundane. Some believed the boy's tears were magical, creating a protective shield against the flames. Others believed the boy was a malevolent spirit, a poltergeist starting the fires himself to feed on the family's grief and loss. Skeptics, of course, offered more rational explanations. A popular theory was that the prints were treated with a special fire-retardant varnish. The paintings were printed on high-density hardboard, which is much more difficult to ignite than standard paper or canvas. Another simple explanation was probability. With tens of thousands of these cheap prints hanging in homes across the UK, it was statistically likely that some would be present at house fires. And perhaps the most logical reason for their survival was that when a painting falls from a wall during a fire, it often lands face down. The hardboard backing protects the printed image from direct heat and flames, while the frame might get scorched. It's plausible, but it doesn't quite capture the sheer terror and conviction of those who experienced it firsthand. For them, it wasn't statistics, it was a curse. The public panic reached its peak. Terrified owners wanted the paintings out of their homes, but they were afraid to simply throw them away. What if that angered the spirit? Some tried smashing them or burying them. Others, in a grimly ironic twist, tried to burn them. And this is where the legend truly solidified. According to numerous reports, the paintings would not burn. People would douse them in lighter fluid and set them alight in their backyards. It's only for the flames to die down, leaving the boy's tear-streaked face staring back at them, untouched. This defiance of fire seemed to be the ultimate proof. The Sun newspaper, which had started the whole phenomenon, decided to take action. They organized a massive, nationwide bonfire of the crying boys. They urged readers to send in their haunted prints. On Halloween night, 1985, staff members gathered hundreds, even thousands, of the paintings and threw them onto a colossal bonfire. As the flames roared into the night sky, a nation held its breath, hoping to finally break the curse. Did it work? For a while, the stories died down. The crying boy faded from the headlines, becoming a piece of bizarre modern folklore, a creepy story to be told around a campfire. But the legend never truly disappeared. The paintings still exist. They turn up in antique shops, at car boot sales, and on online auction sites, often with a warning attached. A new generation, fascinated by the paranormal, began seeking them out. And with this renewed interest, new stories have emerged. Lectors claim to feel an unnatural cold spot around the painting, or a sudden, oppressive sadness. Some say the boy's eyes seem to follow them around the room. There are even recent accounts from people who, having bought a print as a joke or a novelty, have experienced strange phenomena. The distinct smell of smoke where there is no fire objects moving on their own, or most chillingly, the faint sound of a child sobbing in the middle of the night. So what is the truth? Was it a case of mass hysteria, fueled by a sensationalist newspaper and a series of tragic coincidences? Was it a clever marketing ploy that spiraled out of control? Or did the grief and trauma of a post-war world somehow embed itself into the image of a crying child, creating a genuine paranormal artifact? Perhaps Bruno Amadeo really did capture something more than just a portrait. Maybe he painted an echo of a tragedy, a psychic stain that continues to ripple through time, forever linked to the destructive power of fire. We may never know for sure. The line between fact and folklore has been blurred by decades of retelling. But the image of the crying boy remains one of the most enduring and unsettling urban legends of the 20th century. Maybe it's just superstition, a story that gets under your skin. Maybe, just maybe, some objects can hold on to an echo of the past, replaying a tragedy over and over again. Either way, if you ever find yourself browsing a dusty old shop and you see those sad, familiar eyes staring back at you, you might want to just keep walking. Because some art is meant to be looked at, but some should never be taken home. Thanks for joining us for this unsettling tale. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the dark. Until next time, stay safe and be careful what you hang on your walls.